You scroll through your contacts at night, realizing there's literally nobody you can text without feeling like a massive bother or a total weirdo. If you struggle to make friends, it is incredibly easy to spiral and think that you are the problem. You tell yourself you're too awkward, too boring, or just inherently unlikable. But psych says no cap, that is not the case. Today we're deep diving into the actual machinery of isolation. We're looking at the silent mental glitches that keep us lonely, and how your brain is actually actively blocking you from making connections, all because it's trying to protect you. To figure out why making friends as an adult is a literal sport, we have to skip the useless advice like, just put yourself out there. Instead, let's look at how your brain is wired. In psychology, attachment theory basically says that how you bonded with your parents when you were a baby sets the default settings for your adult relationships. We always talk about this with dating, but it completely runs your friendships too. If you've got an avoidant attachment style, your brain learned early on that relying on other people is a trap. You learn that vulnerability just leads to rejection or drama. So as an adult, even if you desperately want friends, the second someone tries to get close, an alarm goes off in your head. You start finding microscopic flaws in them, like, oh, they breathe too loud, they're too needy, or their vibes are just off. You cancel plans at the last second, hide behind your busy schedule, and keep conversations totally surface level. You tell yourself you're just fiercely independent, but really, your brain is just wearing a suit of armor to keep people away. On the flip side, if you're anxious, you try too hard. You're so scared of getting ghosted that you overanalyze every single punctuation mark in a text. If they don't reply in 2 hours, you spiral into, they literally hate me, I should delete my account. Back in the day, if your caveman tribe rejected you, you literally died. So your brain treats a late text with the same life or death panic as a tiger outside the cave. But this panic can overwhelm people, making them pull away, which just triggers your anxiety even more. Your social skills aren't broken. Your self-defense software is just lagging. Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head for hours, cringing because you made a slightly awkward joke or stumbled over a word? That's the spotlight effect, our dumb cognitive bias where we think everyone is staring at our mistakes with a magnifying glass. Science proved this with a study where students were forced to wear an embarrassing Barry Manilow shirt to class. The students wearing it thought everyone was judging them, but in reality, barely anyone even noticed. Everyone is too busy worrying about their own spotlight to care about yours. And this leads to the liking gap. Ivy League researchers literally proved that after two strangers talk, they systematically underestimate how much the other person liked them. We rate our own performance at a 0, while the other person walked away thinking, wow, they were so cool. When you assume you're failing, you get stiff and cold, not because you're unfriendly, but because you're terrified. Also, look up the pratfall effect. It's a psych rule that shows we actually like people more when they make minor clumsy mistakes because it makes them human. Trying to be perfect just makes you look like a robot. Sociologists say deep friendships need 3 things: being close by, having repeated unplanned run-ins, and a chill space where you can let your guard down. This is why school friendships were basically automatic. You didn't have to plan to see your friends, you just saw them. But adulting ruins this. If you're struggling, you might be trying to build friendships on proximity alone, like seeing your gym buddies or co-workers without ever bringing in the secret sauce, vulnerability. Plus, we have the mere exposure effect, the psychological hack, where our brains naturally start to like things just because they're familiar. If you're always at VFH and never leave your cave, you're not giving people a chance to get familiar with you. Research shows it takes about 50 hours of hanging out to go from stranger to casual friend, and like 200 hours to make a bestie. But those hours can't just be small talk about the weather. If you never share your actual thoughts, your weird hobbies, or your struggles, people can't connect with the real you. If you stay a closed book, people will just assume you want to be left alone. When you've been burned, left out, or betrayed in the past, your brain goes on high alert. This isn't you being dramatic, it is deeply biological. In a famous study called the cyberball study, scientists scanned people's brains while they play the simple virtual game of catch. Suddenly, the other players stop throwing the ball to the participant, completely leaving them out. The brain scans showed that social exclusion lit up the exact physical pain pathways in the brain as a physical injury, like slamming your hand in a door. Your brain literally registers rejection as physical damage. So to protect you from that pain, your brain makes a rule. If we don't try, we can't get hurt. This shows up as crazy overthinking. You think, oh, they didn't invite me to lunch, they must despise me. Or if they like me, they would have texted first. But here's the tragedy. By protecting yourself from rejection, you guarantee you stay lonely. You act cold, cross your arms, and send out "don't talk to me" energy. Other people read that and think you're stuck up, so they stay away. You basically played yourself. A lot of us feel like we have to earn our spot in a social group. We low-key believe that just existing isn't enough to make people like us. So you treat socializing like a high-stakes stand-up comedy show. You feel like you have to be the funniest, the smartest, the most successful, or the free therapist who solves everyone's problems. This is social perfectionism, and it is absolute exhaustion. If hanging out feels like an audition, obviously you're going to avoid it. You'll stay home just because you don't have the energy to put on the show. But humans have built-in BS detectors. We vibe with authenticity, not perfection. When you perform, people feel a wall. True intimacy is built on sharing your messy, imperfect sides, not your highlights reel. This is a massive hurdle for introverts, socially anxious people, and neurodivergent folks like people with ADHD or autism. It's all about masking. When you don't naturally fit into neurotypical social vibes, your brain starts manually calculating everything. You're running scripts. When do I look them in the eye? How long do I hold it? Did I laugh too loud? What's the normal response to "how's it going?" We separate this into autonomic social processing, doing it on autopilot, and cognitive social processing, manually calculating every move. Running these scripts means your brain's CPU is running at 100% capacity. It's hot, it's lagging, and after an hour, you are completely dead. You didn't experience connection. You experienced a high-stress math exam. So, your brain starts associating socializing with pure exhaustion, and you pull away to protect your battery. Basically, we are trying to use childhood rules in an adult world. When you were a kid, you walked up to someone at the playground, asked to play tag, and boom, best friends. It was effortless because childhood is built on hyper-proximity and zero stakes. You didn't have bills, jobs, or trauma. But as adults, we enter relational drift. Everyone is tired, busy, and carrying emotional baggage. If you expect adult friendships to just happen with that childhood magic, you're going to get hurt.